The rain fell hard that night on the edge of Nova Terra 7, a cold human colony world far from the core planets. The wind screamed through the metal roofs of the workers' settlement, and the smell of rust and smoke filled the air. Inside a small cabin near the forest line lived Ethan Cole, a 35-year-old engineer who had chosen silence over society. He had left the crowded cities years ago, tired of war, tired of orders, and tired of people who forgot what kindness meant. He sat alone beside a weak fire, repairing a broken data pad with trembling fingers. Outside, thunder rolled across the dark sky. His small companion drone beeped, floating near the window. "Storm level rising," it said in a metallic voice. "Stay indoors." Ethan gave a dry laugh. "Yeah, no one's crazy enough to be out in this mess." Then he heard it, a cry. At first it sounded like the wind, thin and distant. But then it came again, sharper, breaking through the noise of the storm. It was not a machine sound. It was a voice, weak, frightened, begging. He froze. The cry grew louder, echoing between the metal walls of the settlement. It was coming from just outside his cabin. Ethan grabbed a light stick and opened the door. Cold wind slapped his face and rain stung his skin. The night was almost pitch black, but his light cut through the darkness and there she was. A woman stood near his doorstep, her body trembling, her clothes torn and soaked with mud. Her skin was pale violet, her eyes glowing faintly in the dark. She wasn't human. She was Valari, one of the alien refugees who sometimes worked in the mines, people most humans feared or hated after the long war. In her arms she held a small bundle wrapped in a thin blanket. The cloth was soaked, but he could see the faint light coming from inside it. The woman looked at him, eyes full of terror and exhaustion. "Please take her," she whispered, her voice barely a breath. "Please, if she's hungry. I can't feed her." Before Ethan could ask anything, she placed the small bundle on his doorstep and turned to run into the darkness. "Wait," he shouted, stepping forward. But his boots sank in the mud and lightning flashed overhead, revealing her falling to her knees near the trees. She collapsed motionless. Ethan rushed toward her, heart pounding. The baby cried, a strange, soft sound that almost hummed through the air. He bent down and touched the woman's shoulder. Her skin was burning hot. "Hey, stay with me," he said. She opened her eyes slowly. "Don't call soldiers," she murmured. "They'll take her. They'll kill her." Her words faded into the rain as she lost consciousness. Ethan looked down at her, then at the baby. The infant's face was small and blue, with faint glowing lines moving under the skin like gentle waves. The tiny fingers gripped the edge of the blanket, trembling from the cold. He stood there for a long moment, unsure what to do. Bringing them inside could get him arrested. Harboring aliens was still forbidden without military permission. But leaving them here meant death. The baby cried again, a thin, heartbreaking sound. Ethan sighed deeply. "Damn it," he whispered. "All right, come on." He lifted the woman in his arms first, then carefully picked up the baby. Both were lighter than he expected. The woman's breathing was shallow, the baby's eyes half closed. He carried them inside, kicking the door shut behind him. Inside, the cabin felt even smaller. Ethan laid the woman on his couch and wrapped her in a thermal blanket. Then he placed the baby near the fire, adjusting the heat so it wouldn't burn her glowing skin. "All right, kid," he muttered, opening a food cabinet. "Let's find something you can drink." He had no baby food, but he found condensed milk and mixed it with warm water. The baby looked up at him, blinking with those strange, bright eyes. When he brought the cup close, she made a soft humming sound and began to drink, her small hands gripping his fingers. "Good girl," he said softly, surprised at his own tone. "You're tougher than you look." The drone hovered close, scanning. "Unknown species energy detected. Recommendation, report to authorities." Ethan glared at it. Not a word. "Shut that protocol off." The drone blinked red once, then floated back silently. He turned to check on the mother. She was still unconscious but breathing. The fever seemed bad. Her clothes were torn, showing faint scars and burns along her arms. She looked like she had been running for days. He cleaned a cut on her forehead with antiseptic. When he touched her wrist, her skin changed color slightly, from violet to pale blue, as if reacting to his touch. "What kind of hell have you been through?" he whispered. Hours passed. The storm outside grew stronger. Thunder rolled and the cabin lights flickered. Ethan sat beside the fire, holding the sleeping baby. Every few minutes her skin glowed softly, casting moving colors across the walls. It was beautiful and strange, like watching the northern lights trapped inside a child. He found himself staring, wondering what the woman had meant by "they'll kill her." Why would soldiers want to harm a baby? He tried to push the thought away, but something deep in him stirred. The same feeling he had when he saw injured soldiers during the war. Back then, mercy had been rare. Orders always said don't help the enemy. But this didn't feel like an enemy. It felt human. At dawn, the rain stopped. The first weak light entered the cabin. The drone beeped again. Heart rate detected. Subject recovering. Ethan looked over. The woman, the alien, was awake. She tried to sit up, wincing in pain. Her eyes darted around, then settled on the baby in his arms. "She's safe," Ethan said quickly. "You both are." Tears filled her eyes. "You helped us?" He nodded. "You collapsed outside." "You almost froze." She took a deep breath. "My name is Lyra," she whispered. "I am Valari." Or what's left of them. Ethan had heard the name before. The Valari were known for their unique biology. Their skin could change colors to show emotion. During the war, humans had called them shifters and accused them of hiding spies among the colonies. After the war ended, most Valari were sent to camps or driven away. "Where's her father?" Ethan asked quietly. Lyra's eyes dimmed. "Dead. Killed when humans raided the tunnels last year." She looked down. "We ran for months. No food, no shelter. I tried to feed her, but my body can't make milk anymore." Ethan swallowed hard. "You should have gone to the relief center." "They would take her away," Lyra said bitterly. "They say Valari babies are dangerous, that our energy can overload machines." As if to prove her words, the baby's skin flickered bright blue for a second. Ethan's lamp buzzed and went dark. He blinked. "Okay, that's new." Lyra smiled weakly. "She doesn't control it yet." Suddenly, a sharp beep came from outside. Ethan's drone turned red again. "Warning. Colony patrol approaching. 2 life signatures, 80 meters. Lyra's eyes widened in fear. "They're looking for us." Ethan moved fast. "Get under the table. Take the baby." He switched off all lights and grabbed his plasma wrench, the only thing that looked like a weapon. Through the window, he saw the silhouettes of 2 armored soldiers scanning houses with flashlights. One of them stopped near his door. "Anyone inside?" Ethan took a deep breath. "Just me." The door opened. "Routine check," the soldier said coldly. "We're tracking a fugitive. Alien female carrying something, possibly a power cell or child." Ethan kept his face calm. "I haven't seen anyone." The soldier scanned the room. The baby under the table made a small noise. Ethan coughed loudly to cover it. The soldier frowned. "You live alone out here?" "Always have," Ethan replied. The man looked at the flickering fire, then back at him. "If you see anything strange, report it. That child could be dangerous." When they finally left, Ethan locked the door again, heart pounding. Lyra crawled out, clutching her baby tightly, tears running down her face. "Thank you," she whispered. "If they found us," "They didn't," he said. "But they'll come again." The baby looked up at him and smiled, a small glowing smile that somehow warmed the cold air around them. Ethan couldn't help but smile back. He didn't know why, but something about that smile made him feel alive again, like a spark he'd lost years ago during the war had just come back. That night, when Lyra and the baby finally slept, Ethan sat near the fire, staring at the storm clouds clearing over the horizon. He knew what he had done was dangerous. Helping aliens was against every rule, but deep inside he didn't regret it. Outside, the first stars appeared, and far beyond them, something moved. A faint red light blinked in the sky, not a star, not lightning. A hunter ship scanning the planet's surface. Ethan didn't notice it yet, but soon he would, and when he did, his life, and the fate of the alien child, would never be the same again. The morning sun had not yet reached the thick forest of Novaterra 7. The rain had stopped, but mist still floated between the trees like thin ghosts. Ethan stood outside his cabin, his breath fogging in the cold air. His hands were shaking, not from the cold but from what had happened the night before. Inside, on his couch, the alien woman Lyra and her baby slept peacefully. For a moment they looked almost human, soft, fragile, innocent. But every few minutes the baby's glowing skin changed color, and small sparks danced across the blanket. Ethan had turned off every piece of electronics in the house just in case. He rubbed his face, whispering to himself, "What the hell did I get myself into?" The door slid open behind him. Lyra stood there, wrapped in his blanket, her violet skin shining faintly in the dim light. She looked weak but more alive than before. "Thank you," she said softly. "For saving us." Ethan turned. "You shouldn't be standing. You need rest." "I've been running for weeks," she said. "One night of sleep won't fix that." She walked slowly to the baby, who woke up with a quiet hum. The sound was like music, calm and bright. Ethan couldn't help but smile. But then the baby's skin flashed brighter, golden this time, and one of his lamps flickered even though it was unplugged. Ethan frowned. "That's new," Lyra sighed. "It happens when she feels something strongly. She feels safe now. That's why she shines." "She glows when she's happy?" Ethan asked. Lyra smiled weakly. "She glows when she's alive." Ethan brewed a pot of warm tea, the closest thing to breakfast he had. Lyra sat by the fire, holding her baby close. For the first time, Ethan saw her clearly. She had elegant features, sharp but soft at the same time. Thin silver veins glowed faintly beneath her skin, and her eyes shifted color with her emotions. Pink, then violet, then deep blue, when she looked at her child. "You said they'll kill her," Ethan said quietly. "Why?" Lyra hesitated. "Because she's different. Even from our kind." She looked into the fire, her face shadowed. "During the war, humans used machines that could sense Valari energy. To hide, we had to stay cold, empty, emotionless. But this child, she was born after the war ended. Her body never learned to hide. Her energy grows with her feelings. When she's afraid, she can short out machines. When she's angry, she can burn through metal." Ethan stared at the baby in shock. "Burn through metal?" Lyra nodded. "She doesn't mean to. It just happens. Humans think she's a weapon. The military wants her because of that." Ethan leaned back, letting the words sink in. He had seen weapons his entire life. Plasma rifles, drones, orbital cannons. But never something like this. A child whose emotions could destroy steel. And she was sitting right there, smiling at him with innocent, glowing eyes. "What's her name?" he asked. Lyra looked down at her. "Elara," she said softly. "In our tongue it means light that listens." Ethan's drone hovered near the window, scanning the area. "Unidentified signals detected," it said suddenly. 3 kilometers east. "Could be patrols." Lyra's face turned pale. "They're coming." "Calm down," Ethan said, standing up. "They probably search every sector. But just in case..." He opened a hidden compartment in the floor and pulled out an old scanner scrambler, a device from his military days. "This will hide our life signs for a while." "You were a soldier?" Lyra asked. "Engineer," he replied. "Built machines that hunted your people." She looked down, sadness flickering in her eyes. "Then why help us now?" Ethan sighed. "Because I saw what those machines did." For a few seconds, silence filled the cabin. Heavy, emotional silence that only the sound of the fire broke. The baby reached out her small, glowing hand toward Ethan's face. He hesitated, then let her touch his cheek. The light under her skin shimmered softly, and he felt warmth spread across his face. Gentle, peaceful warmth that eased something deep inside him. "She likes you," Lyra said with a faint smile. "She's different," Ethan said quietly, "but not in a bad way." Hours passed quietly. Lyra helped clean the cabin while Ethan repaired the rover parked outside. He hadn't used it in months, but something told him they'd need it soon. While working, he noticed strange scratches along the rover's hull, like metal had been melted. When he rubbed them, the edges were smooth as glass. "Lyra," he called out. "These marks, were they here before?" She stepped out, her face tense. "No, that's her. The baby did this." "When she was scared last night," Lyra said softly. "Her energy burns what it touches when her pulse spikes." Ethan shook his head in disbelief. "So if soldiers come close, she'll defend herself," Lyra said. "But she's just a child. Every time she uses it, it hurts her inside." He looked at the melted metal again, thinking of the glowing smile that baby had given him earlier. She didn't deserve to live hunted. None of them did. By afternoon, the sound of distant engines echoed through the valley. Ethan grabbed his binoculars and scanned the sky. A formation of patrol drones moved like silver insects sweeping through the forest. Their sensors glowed red, scanning for heat and energy signatures. "They're getting closer," he said. Lyra's breath quickened. We have to leave, now. Ethan nodded and started packing supplies: food, water, tools, and an old energy shield unit. He loaded them into the rover while Lyra strapped Elara into a soft carrier against her chest. As he worked, his drone beeped again. New signal detected. Military frequency. 1 shuttle inbound. Coordinates. This sector. Damn it, Ethan cursed. They're tracking her energy again. Lyra clutched the baby tighter. I can't make her stop glowing when she's scared. Ethan stopped and faced her. Then don't make her scared, trust me. I'll get you both out. For a moment their eyes met, human and alien. 2 souls on opposite sides of a war neither wanted. Then Lyra nodded slowly. Minutes later the rover roared to life. They drove through the misty forest, branches scraping the metal sides. The road was rough, filled with puddles and old mine scars. Above them, the sound of the shuttle grew louder. Ethan pressed harder on the throttle. We'll head to the old canyons. The scanners can't reach there. But the shuttle descended faster. Through the canopy, bright light beams sliced the fog. A voice crackled over the comms. Unauthorized transport detected. Stop immediately. This is a restricted zone. Ethan didn't stop. He drove faster. The rover jumped over a fallen log, mud splashing across the windshield. They're locking on, Lyra shouted. Hold tight, Ethan yelled. He flipped a switch. The rover's old shield unit came online, forming a weak blue bubble around them. A plasma bolt hit it from above, shaking the vehicle but not breaking it. The baby cried, her glow flickering rapidly. Suddenly, the lights inside the rover dimmed, then surged. Elara's glow spread through the metal floor, crawling like veins of light. Ethan, Lyra gasped. She's reacting to the energy. Before he could respond, a burst of white light exploded from the rover, blinding everything for a second. The shuttle above lost balance, spiraling sideways before crashing into the forest far behind them. When the light faded, the rover kept moving, but the baby had stopped glowing. She was quiet, breathing fast, her small body trembling. Lyra hugged her tightly. She used too much. She's weak. Ethan slowed down, heart racing. We need to hide before more come. They reached the canyon edge just before sunset. The sky burned orange and purple, and the wind carried the smell of iron and dust. Ethan guided the rover into a cave hidden behind a waterfall of glowing moss. Inside, the cave opened into a small, warm space lit by bioluminescent roots. Ethan checked his wrist scanner. No signals here. We're safe, for now. Lyra laid Elara on a blanket, singing softly in her alien language, a tune that made the glowing moss pulse gently in rhythm. Ethan listened quietly, feeling something strange inside his chest. A calm he hadn't known in years. She'll be fine, Lyra said after a while. She always wakes stronger, Ethan nodded. You've done this before, haven't you? Run, hide, repeat? Lyra's eyes darkened. Since the day she was born. He looked at her, then at the baby. You shouldn't have to live like this. She gave a tired smile. You think kindness can fix war? Ethan stared into the moss light. Maybe not. But kindness can save what war tries to destroy. For a long moment, neither spoke. The cave hummed softly with the echoes of the waterfall outside. The baby stirred, her skin glowing gently once more. Not bright, just warm, like candlelight. Ethan stood, checking his gear. We'll rest tonight. Tomorrow I'll figure out how to get you off this planet. Lyra looked up sharply. You'd risk everything? For us? He shrugged. I've got nothing to lose. But maybe helping you gives me something worth keeping. She watched him in silence, the human who should have hated her now risking his life for her child. For the first time in years, Lyra felt something she had forgotten how to feel. Hope. Outside, the wind changed. In the distance, a faint blue glow rose over the trees. Not from Elara, but from another ship scanning the forest. They were not safe yet. And far above Novaterra 7, someone was watching the chase through a cold metallic visor. A human commander who once fought in the same war as Ethan. He smiled. Let's see how far you run, Cole. The night inside the canyon was calm, but Ethan couldn't sleep. The gentle hum of the waterfall echoed through the cave, mixing with the slow breathing of Lyra and little Elara. Outside, faint blue light still flickered far away in the forest. Search drones, scanning every shadow. Ethan sat near the mouth of the cave, rifle across his lap, staring at the stars. His thoughts kept circling the same question. How far could he run before the world caught up? He had done things in his past, things he didn't like to remember. But tonight he had done something that felt right. Still, right things often got people killed. Lyra stirred behind him. You haven't slept, he glanced back. Not planning to. She walked over quietly, the faint glow from her veins lighting her face. You saved us again, she said. But you know they'll keep coming. I know, Ethan said. And I'm tired of running too. He looked out at the night sky. There's an old transport hub north of the ridge. If I can get you there, you might find a freighter willing to take you off-world. Lyra frowned. What about you? I'll distract the patrols, buy you time. She stepped closer, her voice soft. You talk like a soldier again. He gave a weak smile. Some habits don't die. By morning, they packed everything. The rover's shields were weak, but the engine still worked. Ilara slept quietly in Lyra's arms, her glow dim and peaceful. Ethan tightened his gloves and checked his old plasma pistol, half charge left. The journey through the canyon was rough. Wind howled through narrow stone passages carrying fine red dust that stung their eyes. Above, the sky shimmered with silver. More ships moving in formation. They've increased patrols, Ethan muttered. They're tracking the baby's energy again. Lyra held Ilara tighter. She's scared. Her pulse rises when she feels danger. Then let's give her a reason to feel safe, he said, pressing harder on the controls. By noon, they reached a ridge overlooking the old transport hub, a cluster of rusted hangars and broken towers from the mining wars. Smoke rose from one side. A military camp had been built there. Ethan cursed under his breath. They got here first. He handed Lyra a small data chip. This contains the scrambler codes. If you reach the control tower, you can access the emergency launch bay. There might be an old cargo shuttle still operational. Lyra looked at him with wide, worried eyes. You're not coming with us, are you? Ethan smiled faintly. I'll draw their attention. They're after me anyway. She grabbed his arm, voice trembling. You'll die. Maybe, he said quietly. But if you and your child make it, it'll mean something. Lyra's eyes shimmered. Why risk everything for us? He hesitated. Because I was part of the reason your people suffered. Maybe this is how I make it right? Before she could answer, a loud roar echoed overhead. A human dropship descending fast. Dust exploded around them. Ethan grabbed his rifle. Go, he shouted. Now! Lyra ran toward the hangar with Ilara in her arms. Ethan turned and fired at the soldiers spilling out of the dropship. Blue bolts lit the sky, hitting the rocks around him. He ducked behind a boulder and returned fire. Target located, a soldier shouted. Human male, ex-engineer Ethan Cole, arrest or terminate. Ethan smirked. Nice to be remembered. Inside the base, alarms blared. Lyra ran through the shattered corridors, her feet splashing through puddles. Sparks rained from broken lights. Ilara began to cry softly, her glow pulsing with each sob. Shh, little light. Lyra whispered. Just a bit more. She reached the control tower, kicked open the old door, and connected the data chip to the terminal. Screens flickered. The scrambler codes began running, blocking scanners for a small window of time. Outside, she could hear plasma fire echoing through the canyon. Her chest tightened. Please, Ethan, she whispered. Hold on. Meanwhile, Ethan fought through smoke and chaos. He ducked behind a wrecked vehicle, reloaded, and fired again. 2 soldiers fell, but more kept coming. Then a familiar voice rang through the loudspeakers. Cold, sharp, and commanding. Ethan Cole, it said. This is Commander Rain. We served together once, remember? Step out and surrender. Ethan froze. Rain, his old commanding officer, the man who had led the Volari raids, the man who taught him that mercy was weakness. Rain's voice echoed again. You know what's at stake. That child is a threat to every human colony. Don't throw your life away for it. Ethan gritted his teeth. She's a baby, Rain, a child. She's an energy weapon waiting to happen. Hand her over. Ethan laughed bitterly. You still see war where there isn't one. War never ends, Rain replied. Only fools pretend it does. Then the commander appeared through the smoke, tall, armored, helmet off. His face was scarred, his expression calm but deadly. Soldiers flanked him. Rain raised his weapon. Last chance, Ethan. Ethan aimed back. You want her? You'll have to kill me first, Rain sighed. You always were too soft. The first shot came from Rain's gun. It grazed Ethan's arm, burning his sleeve. Ethan fired back, hitting a drone overhead. Sparks showered down. The explosion threw both men backward. Ethan crawled to cover, clutching his wound. The baby's distant cry echoed faintly through the comm channel. Alara's glow rising again. Rain looked up at the glowing sky. "You can't control her power. She'll destroy everything." Ethan pressed the comm button on his wrist, voice weak but firm. "No, she'll save what's left of us." At that moment, inside the control tower, Alara's glow turned bright gold. The panels around her began to hum. The terminal overloaded, sending energy surges through the floor. Lyra held her close, whispering, "It's okay, my love. It's okay." Outside, every sensor, every drone, every targeting system went blind. The sky shimmered like glass. Ethan looked up and saw light pouring out of the tower, soft, radiant light that spread across the entire canyon. Rain's soldiers dropped their weapons, shielding their faces. The light wasn't burning, it was warm, almost alive. It pulsed with emotion, with something that felt human. Alara's energy reached them all, their suits, their weapons, their hearts. Machines shut down. Fear vanished. For one fragile moment, there was only peace. Ethan stood, blood on his sleeve, watching the glow wash over him. He whispered, "That's what she is, Rain, not a weapon. A miracle." Rain lowered his gun, eyes wide with disbelief. "What have you done?" Ethan smiled faintly. "Nothing. I just gave her a chance." The ground shook as a power core exploded nearby. The old base couldn't handle the energy surge. The tower began to collapse. Ethan ran toward it, ignoring Rain's shouts. Smoke filled the air. He climbed over debris until he reached the entrance. Inside, Lyra knelt with Alara in her arms, both glowing softly. "She can't stop it," Lyra cried. "She's burning out." Ethan dropped beside them. "Then let me help." He grabbed the broken data core cable and connected it to his wrist port. Energy flowed through him like fire. His vision blurred, pain ripping through his nerves, but he held on. "Ethan, stop," Lyra shouted. "Not yet," he gasped. "Just a little longer." The light around them dimmed, settling into calm ripples. The baby stopped crying. The hum softened into silence. Ethan fell back, breathing heavily. His skin glowed faintly where the energy had passed. "There," he said weakly. "All stable." Lyra looked at him, tears falling. "You took the charge into yourself." He smiled. "Guess I'm good with machines." Minutes later, the emergency launch bay door opened. The old cargo shuttle flickered to life, its engines whining. Lyra placed Alara in the seat beside her and turned to Ethan. "Come with us," she said. "Please." He looked out at the burning horizon. Soldiers were retreating. Rain was gone. The world was quiet. "I can't," he said softly. "Someone has to make sure they don't follow." Lyra's lips trembled. "You'll die if you stay." He reached out, brushing his hand against Alara's tiny fingers. "Maybe, but she'll live." "That's enough." The baby smiled, a faint golden shimmer glowing across her skin, the same warmth Ethan had felt before. Lyra leaned forward and pressed her forehead against his. "You gave us a future." He nodded, stepping back as the shuttle door closed. The engines roared and the craft lifted into the orange sky, disappearing into the clouds. Hours later, silence returned to the canyon. Ethan stood alone, the glow on his skin fading. He looked up at the stars where the shuttle had vanished. Rain's voice crackled over the comm one last time. "You can't save them forever, Cole." Ethan smiled faintly. "Maybe not, but I saved what matters." Then he threw the comm into the fire and walked toward the cliffs. Disappearing into the dawn light, epilogue weeks later, a freighter leaving the outer colonies reported a strange sight. A woman and child with glowing skin, heading toward the Valari free worlds. The baby's laughter was said to calm even the harshest storms of space. And on Nova Terra 7, legends began to spread about a human who defied orders, protected an alien child, and changed what people believed about mercy. They called him the man who took the stars home. Because in the end, Ethan Cole hadn't just saved an alien child. He had reminded the galaxy what it truly meant to be human.